name is Christopher Penn. There we go. If you're wondering if the slides will be available, if you go to willtheslidesbeavailable.com, we'll have the audio and video and fun stuff. Let's talk about two critical problems we have in marketing today. Number one is we don't have the attention of our audiences. Let's take a look at what attention looks like in 2019. In 60 seconds on the internet, this is what's happening. We went from 266,000 hours of Netflix being watched to 694,000 hours of Netflix being watched. That is a lot of Netflix and chill. Thank you for the one person who laughed. We have 1.1 million Tinder swipes going to 1.4 million Tinder swipes. I'm guessing based on the amount of Netflix being watched, that was mostly right. But we get this tremendous overload that we're having to deal with. This overload shows up in even the most basic forms of media. In 2019, this year, globally, we will be tracking somewhere around, I want to say, 120 million news stories this year. If you break that down, that means that every 60 seconds on the internet, there are 172 new news stories. So if you're on the front page of the news, or you're on the evening news, guess what? You've got someone's attention for about 7 seconds at best, right? A recent study by Nature Communications said that the accelerating ups and downs of popular content are being driven by increasing production and consumption of content, resulting in more rapid exhaustion of limited attention resources. People are paying less and less attention. How much less? In just 3 years. For any topic that was popular, people are paying 32% less attention to us marketers. That's kind of a tough environment to operate in. So we can't be everything to everywhere. We can't just crank out stuff and hope it works anymore. The second problem we face, we are not delivering results. As marketers, we are not delivering the kind of results that the C-suite asks of us. In the most recent CMO survey from February 2019, when asked, chief marketing officers said the overwhelming priority was communicating the impact of marketing on financial outcomes for the company. That is what CMOs, CEOs, business owners, boards of directors, that's what they want to hear from us. How are we doing with that? Not great. Only 43%, which is an all-time high, but only 43% of us are using data, using analytics well to make decisions. The other, more than 50% of the time, I'm guessing that you're guessing. Again, when asked, how are you proving the value of your marketing? Only about 1/3 of CMOs said that they can prove the value of marketing quantitatively. 50% say we are kind of guessing, but we don't have numbers to back it up. And 13% just said, nah, we're just not even going to bother trying. What is the impact of failing to measure our marketing and a declining attention environment? The answer is we are getting our butts handed to us. We're spending more money than ever before. We're spending 9.3% of our marketing budget on brand spending. We're spending more on CRM. We're spending more on services. We're spending more on new product introduction. But we're not getting anything. And so the C-suite is saying, well, you know what? We're going to take away budget. Social media spending has dropped significantly. Marketing budget has dropped to the lowest level in 3 years. At a certain point, people are like, why are you spending money if I'm not getting anything in return for it? So how do we solve this problem? How do we get around the issues of less attention and no results? We have to build and adapt to data-driven customer journeys. It's a 5-step process we're going to go through on how to be data-driven and build these journeys. First, to become data-driven means only one thing. You make your decisions with data. Not guessing, not, well, this is the way we've always done it. Not, I think millennials like this, or I think some people like this. You make decisions with data, not with intuition, not with guesswork. I am an American, and we're not known for our skills at geography. 2/3 of us can't find our own country on a map. It's awkward. I was surprised when I asked, how far away is Russia from here? Now, if I was guessing, if I was relying on intuition, I would guess, oh, it's like 1,200 kilometers away, right? That's pretty far. Actually, I found out it's only 70 kilometers away, or 67 kilometers. Because there's a little piece of Russia that got cut off. Well, actually, it was Germany, and then that got handed to Russia after the war. 70 kilometers, that's, when you think about Poland, and you think about Lithuania, and Latvia, and Belarus, like, no, there's a whole bunch of things between Poland and Russia. Nope. So that is the difference between intuition, what we think the world's like, and the reality, which is, hey, Russia's about an hour's drive away. To become data-driven, we have to take 5 steps. Most organizations begin with that data resistance. The phrase that drives me up a wall, this is the way we've always done it. Right? That is a data-resistant organization. And if you're in that situation, and the organization isn't open to change, I suggest you update your LinkedIn profile. From there, you become data curious. Are you starting to find data? Are you asking the question, what data do we have access to? Do we have access to Google Analytics? Do we have access to a CRM? Almost everyone should now know what data they have. And the reason for this is that everybody in this room had to go through GDPR last year. If you don't know where your data is, your data protection officer would like to have a word with you. From there, you become data aware. Now you've got this stuff. What do you do with it? What does it tell you? What happened? You're beginning to use data intelligently. From there, you become data savvy. You answer the question, what happened? Now you have to answer the question, why did these things happen? And that is where you're going to start building insights. Insights explain why. All of your analytics, all of your data will tell you what happened. Almost none of it will tell you why something happened. And finally, once you have decided that your data is a priority and you will make decisions with data, that is when you become a data-driven company. So that's the first step. And this step in the process takes days, weeks, months, years, decades, depending on your company and how resistant to change people are. The good news is that there was a recent McKinsey study that basically said that data-driven companies perform substantially better in the marketplace. So if your CEO is looking for a reason why to do this, just tell them to make more money. 2, we have to understand what these customer journeys are. We all, well, many of us who are marketers, especially those who've got a lot of gray hair, grew up with funnels. We have the marketing funnel, you put people in the top and money comes out the bottom, and that was great. It was super easy to be a marketer 20 years ago. It's not so easy now. We have all of these pathways that we want people to take. Download our white paper, get our webinar, visit our booth, all these things. But the problem is the customer doesn't do that. The customer gets off the path, does other things. And to complicate things, thanks to these lovely devices we have in our pockets, our customers can be in different stages of the journey simultaneously. I was at the shopping mall recently and I saw somebody in the store and they had their phone out and they were at the rack holding up a shirt and they were video chatting with a friend and then switching back and forth between that and the Amazon app. So for the owner of the store, this person's in one part of the customer journey. For Amazon, this person's in another part of the customer journey. That person is occupying different places at the same time. So customers are not linear. And when we try to make them linear, they just go away. They stop whatever they're doing and they leave and they go to the path of least resistance. So an important thing to keep in mind is that funnels are for marketers, but they occur at the expense of customers. You must do things our way. Journeys are for customers. It's how we as customers behave, but at the expense of much more complex data. The customer journey has been beaten to death by almost every consulting firm on the planet, but fundamentally, a customer journey occurs in 2 steps. There is the marketing part, which is the buyer's journey. Awareness. Does anyone know who you are? Consideration. Can they remember who you are? Evaluation. Do you still make the shortlist after they talk to their friends and find out or read reviews about you? And then there's the other half, which is the part that marketers lose most often because they forget it exists. After you buy something, what's the ownership process like? What's the loyalty process like? If your company is good enough, if your customer experience is good enough, you will create evangelism. You will create the willingness for people to talk about your company. You still need funnels operationally. Please don't just throw everything out the window. Because one of the worst things you can do to your employees is say, okay, now everybody's doing everything, and nobody's in charge. Now, the customer behaves that way. But we can't. We still need specialization. We still need people to manage operationally by the funnel. The third step in the journey is to understand the marketing technology that is available to us today and make sense of it. There's a great deck out there available from the MarTech conference. Scott Brinker, who spoke this morning on the Inspire stage, publishes companies' submitted marketing technology stacks, and they have these wonderful creative diagrams. Problem is, these are more confusion than they're worth. What the heck is even going on here? Marketing technology never starts with the tools. It never starts with the how. It always has to start with why something works. Why are we doing something? And that means taking every tool that you have in your marketing technology stack, your email system, your website, your mobile phone response, your chatbot, whatever you've got, and mapping the tools to each stage of the journey. Some tools will occupy all stages of the customer journey. Right? If you are using social media marketing, guess what? Social media marketing is part of every single step of the journey. If it's not, you're missing an opportunity. So how do you do this? Figure out why you're doing what you're doing. Then the second part is who is in charge of things. Does your company have a good governance policy for who's in charge of each individual system? Who is responsible for it? Who's responsible for compliance? Again, we all went through GDPR last year, so you should have a pretty clear idea of who is in charge of what. The third part in the journey is figuring out what your processes are, and this is a very difficult thing for a lot of marketers. Many marketers, myself included, are not great about following rigid processes. We tend not to like them. We tend to rather be creative, which doesn't really work so well when you're trying for a repeatable result. So you need processes in place. Only then do you get to the technology. What tools do you need? And the reason for that is that if you just go out to a bunch of vendors and say, hey, I'm looking for some help with email marketing, you're going to get every vendor on the planet, and they're all going to present all their features and all their benefits, and you won't have any idea what to choose because you didn't do this part. If you know that you have a staffing deficit, and you know that you don't have well-defined processes, then that limits the number of tools that you should be looking at for email marketing. And this is true across the board for any type of technology, whether it's social media, mobile marketing, location-based marketing, whatever. The fifth part is execution. When do you do things? And the sixth part is measurement. This is how to develop a marketing technology stack that works for your company, for selecting vendors, and for reducing your risks. For most of us in the room, we're going to use the Google Analytics ecosystem. Because even with increased restrictions on privacy and what data is available, this is still the gold standard for measuring in aggregate what is happening to people in the digital experiences that we use. And by the way, the fact that all of you are holding up mobile devices right now indicates that even in a real-world setting, the world is still digital. So when you think about that step, the why, the what, the how, this is all the how, but it's mapped to the what and the why. Using Tag Manager to track things, using Google Analytics to understand what happened, and Google Search Console, being able to then test what happened with optimizing surveys, collecting your data, reporting on your data, and only afterwards do you get around to actually spending money. But this type of infrastructure, this type of mapping is essential to understand what your customers are doing. And if you do this well, if you deploy Google's marketing platform really, really well, you'll be able to get very deep insights into what your customer's journey is, even without personally identified information. The fourth step is valuing your goals. So let's just out of curiosity, how many of you use Google Analytics? Okay, like the entire room. Great. How many of you have set up goals in Google Analytics? Fewer hands. How many of those goals are tied to a financial value? Okay, where all the hands go? Well, why would all hands go away? Okay? Let's talk about how do you set value-based Google Analytics goals. Because if you do this, then Google Analytics becomes a completely different application. Instead of being like, hey, we got visitors to the website, it's, hey, here's how much revenue I can forecast for you ahead of time. You begin with two simple numbers, your customer lifetime value and your customer acquisition cost. And I should say this is simple, this is not easy. It actually requires a lot of legwork and talking to accounting to figure out these numbers. But if you have these numbers, you know your net customer value, the NCV. This computation is the most important computation you can start with. So let's do an example. Suppose that your customer lifetime value is 100,000. I have it in dollars here, but you can put it in the currency of your choice. So you have 100,000, and your acquisition cost is 10,000. That means your net customer value is 90,000. Right? Very straightforward math to begin with. Now, remember I said funnels are still important for operations. So let's step up one level from the bottom of the funnel. If we have that net customer value, and we know our salespeople, our sales mechanism, because you may or may not have salespeople, like Les, the speaker, was saying, you have your net deal value. Your sales closing rate leads to your net deal value. So, as an example, if you have 90,000 and your salespeople close 1 out of 4 deals, you have a net deal value of $22,500. This helps you understand the value of a deal. So if your pipeline is filled with deals, you can forecast that pretty easily. Take your deal value, and then take it the deal closing rate from sales qualified leads, and that gives you your sales qualified lead value. So take one step up the funnel. Now we're into more your marketing automation system. If you know that your deal value, your net deal value is $22,500, and 75% of your sales qualified leads are actually qualified, meaning that they are ready to buy something, you know the value of a sales qualified lead is $16,875. Let's go one step higher in the funnel. Now we get strictly into marketing territory. You have all these sales qualified leads. What's the qualification rate of the marketing leads that become sales qualified leads? Some marketers push a whole bunch of junk, like random things, college students and things, and your market may or may not be college students. And if that's the case, you want to know the value of a marketing qualified lead. Right? We all have email lists and contact lists and social media lists, and people have 100,000 followers on the social network of your choice. But how many of them are marketing qualified? So if you take that sales qualified lead value of $16,875, and only a quarter of them are qualified, now you get to $4,219. Let's take one last step up the funnel. From the marketing qualified leads to the prospect qualification rate. How many of the prospects, the people who fill out an email on your website, who follow you on social media, who do something to raise their hand saying, I at least want to hear from you? And do the math on that. Now imagine only 1% of all the prospects you talk to are actually qualified, actually want to buy something. That gives you roughly $42. Now guess what? This is the number that goes into Google Analytics. Right? When somebody fills out a form, you can track that in Google Analytics. When someone submits a contact request, when someone calls you, if your call tracking is set up properly, this goes in there. This is the number that you focus on. You put this in Google Analytics, and then Google Analytics can start tracking the value, economic value that you are creating. That number just goes here. Change the currency to your appropriate currency. But that's how you turn Google Analytics from fun web software to forecasting mechanism. Bonus, if you know the value, or if you know the length of your sales cycle from that first touch all the way to whatever a closing deal is for you, this helps you forecast revenue. Right? If you know that 180 days after the first time someone fills out a form, they do or don't close the deal, then what's appearing in Google Analytics today is what your revenue will be in 180 days. Is a powerful forecasting tool for understanding here's how much money we're likely to make. The last step in the process, assuming that you've done the culture change, assuming you've changed your thinking about customer journeys, that you have marketing technology in place, so that you've done the valuation of your goals, is to map your customer journey, to put it in order. Google used to have this great tool called the Path to Conversion. Unfortunately, they retired it and never put a replacement. But the good news is we can build our own. We can build our own one of these. Again, just make sure that you have those goals and goal values set up. Without it, this won't work. How many of you have ever looked in the conversions menu in Google Analytics? So all you have, like 5 of you look at the conversion. That's the most important menu. In the conversions menu, if you go down to multi-channel funnels, which is the second menu item, and you go down 2 items from that called assisted conversions, you get this lovely screen. It won't look exactly, so it's close enough. This is assisted conversions, which is the most important thing Google Analytics has ever done. On August 24th, 2011, they turned this feature on, which tells you not just the last thing somebody did, but whether or not that channel helped a conversion but was not the last thing somebody did. It was part of the process of conversion. This now helps us understand the value of all of our marketing channels. So if we look, for example, at social networks in line 4, 2,400 last touches worth $128, but 774 worth $58.94. That 774 number may or may not have happened. Those conversions might go away if you stop doing social media. If you stop doing referral traffic, which is largely public relations and link building, you could lose 606 conversions. If you stop doing SEO because you're not sure what the return is, you could lose 1,599 conversions. So assisted conversions helps us understand the impact of each channel, but it also helps us understand the order in which people are taking in order to do business with us. The magic is in this last column here. Ooh, that's shiny. The magic is in this last column here. The ratio of assisted to last touch tells us, did the channel assist more than the last touch? The more a channel assists, the further forward it is in the customer journey, the closer it is to the top of the customer journey. The more that a channel is on last click, the closer to the end of the customer journey it is. So if we look at those values, that's not very helpful. Right? Social media is probably in the middle of the journey. Organic search is towards the end of the journey. Right? Because so many more conversions are last touch here. So based on this data, we can say, okay, if our messaging on social media is you should buy now, buy now, buy now, but that is not where social media occurs in the journey, you're going to lose people. People will be like, I don't want to hear this, I want to know more, I want to learn more, I want you to build that relationship with me. Now you can take that chart, those numbers, and you can put it into visualization software if you want, and graphically sequence it out. It makes it easier for some people to understand. And if you want to kick it up another really big notch, you can take all of the ways that people interact with you and feed it into machine learning software, to advanced data science software, that will tell you how impactful each channel is. In this case, organic search, this is for my website, but organic search is 61% of all conversions. It's such an impactful channel. So knowing that, even though it's towards the end of the journey, I would focus all my efforts and resources on organic search, or at least 61% of it, because this is what I need to do in order to get more conversions. This is what is working. So that's the process of building a customer journey from data you already have in Google Analytics. And the good news is, like I said, this is built on aggregate data. So there's no PII involved. There's no need for GDPR compliance as long as your analytics install is already compliant. So how do you do this for yourself? Follow this process. Figure out where you are. Are you data-driven? If you're not, you have to become that first as a culture, because you can do all this analysis, but if nobody believes in the value of your data in your organization, then all you're doing is wasting time. Seth Godin has a great expression. If you're not willing to change what you eat or how much you exercise, don't get on the scale. The same thing is true here. Understand the journey, understand the technology, value your goals, and then map your journey. The tools you'll need to do the basic stuff that we've shown here, is just Google Analytics and goal values. That's it. You can do that plus a spreadsheet. To do the more advanced stuff, you're going to need some machine learning software. The ones that I recommend are R or Python, depending on what language you like to program in, or your developers like to work in. IBM Watson Studio is great if you don't want to write code, and then Tableau is visualization software, because it makes it easier for us to understand data. But this is your future. How do you get from confusion today to becoming a data-driven marketer, to being able to answer questions and focus those efforts? Because remember, no attention, no results. Those are our two problems. You're not getting any attention because you're trying to do too much. If you focus on the things that are working, you can invest more resources to create the things that will get attention. And by being data-driven, you will generate the results that the CMO is looking for. So with that, we have a few minutes for questions. Thank you.
Want help solving your company's data, analytics, and digital marketing problems? Visit trustinsights.ai today and let us know how we can help you.